What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, stop right there. It's not time to ring in the new year yet. Hello and happy New Year's Eve from us. We've had such a great time coming into your home this past year, bringing guests, music, dancing, stories, important questions, and more. So before we ring in the new year, let's take a look back at 2021. Some of my favorite moments from What Happened Was. By the way, this is episode 43, which I cannot believe, and I'm so excited to bring you more stories in 2022. Here's a look back starting with episode 1.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
Hope you're having a beautiful day. But even if today is kinda poopy, it's never too late to start over. Come on, we'll show you. Just breathe. Just breathe.
And Patches the cat has been reunited with their family once again, after being missing for 3 years as the result of a mudslide in California. Patches was living in a shelter in Santa Barbara when a scan of a microchip led to a happy reunion. That's good news. Good news.
Some of my favorite moments on the show were the more serious conversations about the pandemic. This show provided a platform to bring on guests and share their experiences and challenges with what we've all been through the last couple years.
A colleague of mine had posted that one of her very close friends' daughter has a certain condition where really the only thing that she's able to consume is Pedialyte through a feeding tube.
Wow.
And this is back when people were hoarding every single little thing out of Target, CVS, the supermarkets. And one of the things that you could not find, just like you couldn't find paper towels, you couldn't find toilet paper, you couldn't find Lysol, you couldn't find Pedialyte. It was one of the main things people were hoarding. You know very well at Target might as well just be like my living room. And some weird reason there was Pedialyte available for pickup at the one by me. So I DM'd my friend and said, hey, like, I think I can get some bottles. Like, let me get it. And I'll just meet you somewhere to give them to you. So sure enough, they had a Pedialyte. I have no idea how I got the bottles. I met my friend in a Starbucks parking lot, and it was like a drug deal. Like literally, we kind of pulled her back, and she was really, really panicky about COVID, and so was I. But she was so panicky that like I put the bags of Pedialyte in my trunk, popped the trunk. She ran out, grabbed it, closed the trunk, wiped it down with the wipe, and we got back in our cars. I remember I posted on my social media what we did, and posted a picture, and before I knew it, one of the editors from the Philadelphia Inquirer, who I work with as a publicist, saw it on my Facebook, and next thing I knew, I got a phone call from a writer saying, we're doing a story about you. So it kind of started this like mini movement of like doing one good thing a day to try to help. A couple other news outlets picked up on it. They just thought it was like a cool, nice thing. And I was doing anything, like everything from, finding a small local food pantry near me, which you'd be really surprised locally. If you do a quick Google, there's probably one right in your backyard, and just donating canned goods, driving over, to I somehow secured I don't know how. It was just one of those other items that was like a hot commodity. Was antibacterial hand gel. I went, no one could find it.
No.
I am like, the FBI, the internet. I go to a wholesaler who makes soap, who sells like soap products. You make soap at home. And I'm like, let me just see. Sure enough, they had a gallon and a half size of hand gel still left. So I ordered it. I was like literally making people bottles of it and like sending it. People were really appreciative of it. Just the idea of like, hey, here's some hand gel. People are like, well, I'll send you money. I'm like, no, that's not the point. That's the whole point of me, just to give it to you.
I have to ask you one more thing. I noticed that you have a personal connection with Wuhan. You've sung there in Wuhan.
Yeah.
So what was that like when we were here and it felt like something that was happening very far away from us, yet you have this personal connection and know what it's like to be there? Were you, I don't know, what was your feeling about that in that moment?
I mean, a little bit surreal, I guess, in a sense, because like, nobody really thinks like, I'm going to go to Wuhan, China, like it wasn't, but because we had performances there, I was in that city. And it's interesting because I think the way sometimes we think about like China or, we're like, oh, well, not as developed or blah, blah. No, like they are so far ahead when it comes to like technology and buildings. Like this is like a highly developed, beautiful, like area.
Within the question of how are you doing, there's the following questions. Are you still an artist? Are you eating?
Right.
Do you have a home? Have you become a real estate agent?
Right. Yeah. Right. And there's been a lot of that. I mean, a lot of people have shifted, and a lot of people have shifted to real estate, which I suppose in the context of the real estate market is not the worst choice right now.
We also had makeup tutorials and learned how to make the perfect smoky eye. And you saw me get into Young Frankenstein's monster makeup backstage at the Ogunquit Playhouse.
And you're just gonna kind of pull your lid taut and just go back and forth. It's okay if it's not perfect because we're gonna smudge it anyways. Get really close to your lashes, go all the way towards your nose and out like this. And then you're gonna smudge it. Make sure you get close to those lashes. I've got a fluffy brush here. So as you can see, when you just smudge the line like that, you already get a really great base. I'm gonna do a brown smoky eye. Cool, awesome. So just right on top, you're gonna tap the darkest color, horizontal gradient. You want it to be darkest to middle to light, kind of like a sunset. Then I'm gonna take the mid brown color here, blend that in your crease, back and forth like a windshield wiper, in tiny circles, and you can decide how far out you want to extend it based on your eye shape. And then I'm just going to take this lightest shade here, this kind of cream color, and pop that under my brow and have it meet that middle shade. And so the point of a smoky eye is so that you can't see where one color starts and the other one stops. How you doing on yours, Zach?
How's it look?
I think it looks great. I think it was awesome.
Not bad.
And here we are, the complete look. Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
Looks good. It looks good.
I love it. I love it. And we'll do it again tonight. So two very important questions that I ask all my guests. Okay. If you could go back in time to any moment in your life and tell your younger self in that moment one thing, what would it be?
I would go back to high school and I would say, just do what you love and don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Literally.
Amen. And the final question, what is the meaning of life?
That's so heavy. I feel like finding, I will say the Dolly Parton quote, finding out who you are and doing it on purpose.
Yeah. We danced and even juggled. heard incredible, never before told stories from artists of all genres of how they got their big breaks in showbiz.
Because I'd been thrown on the middle of Lion King, in the middle of grasslands, and I had to know where I'm going because you could literally die because the stage is moving.
Right.
So I wasn't as afraid. And so I just went on stage in clothes from Saks Fifth Avenue and a wig, the cast recording. I was in the playbill. I was in everything. It was a great lesson for me to just always be ready. It's an experience I'll never forget. And I'm so grateful I had that because now I'm not afraid.
And he asked me to sit outside. And I thought, well, that was fun. We could put you on a plane tonight.
Right. Get out.
And then he came back out and he said, they'd like to talk to you. And that's when Bart walked up and he said, well, we know that you're getting on a plane soon to go back to Hawaii. And we all sat here and talked. And we decided that we wanted to ask you if you would be our Bloody Mary. And my brain was thinking, God, if they ask me to be an understudy, I'm going to die. And I never heard understudy. And my brain froze and I didn't answer. And he said, did you hear me? We'd like you to be our Bloody Mary.
Wow.
And my life changed in that minute. It changed. And then he introduced me to Mary Rogers, daughter of Richard Rogers, and Alice Hammerstein, daughter of Oscar Hammerstein. And one of the biggest compliments that I could have ever gotten was Mary Rogers said the men upstairs would be very happy.
Oh my goodness.
I have a good first break story for you.
Yeah.
What happened was, so the first big TV show I booked was this show called Lie to Me.
Yeah.
And I was so
I saw you on that.
You did?
Yeah. I screamed. When you
Thank you.
I was like,
it's so funny because the role was like, she's a pregnant 17-year-old and she's crying and she obviously is fresh off the boat from India. So she has an accent.
Yeah.
So, I could not relate to this on any level. I think literally one of my lines was he got us from the slums. It was just oh my God, talk about bad writing. So I'll never forget it. And also she's hysterically crying. And I was oh my God, how am I going to hysterically cry? I'm a comedian and I'm happy. So somehow I remember taking this picture of my parents and this little statue of an Indian god Ganesh in the audition. And I just held them with me and did the scene because thinking about my parents and how much they've given me in my life and just thinking about God, it will get me real emotional. It will just put me there. So I'm sure the casting director and producer were what is she doing? But I did it anyway. And it worked because the waterworks just came.
They would meet every Saturday. They'd rent a small community rec room, drag my brother and I think we were, I don't know, I can't even remember when we didn't do it. Every Saturday from 10 or 11 in the morning until 8 or 9 at night, they would just get together. They would pool their resources together and produce an opera. With full sets and costumes, and I got to participate. When I decided to move forward into theater as my career, my parents were terrified that I was going to starve to death.
oh.
They just were this is not a career. This is something you do on the side. This is not a career. They kind of faulted themselves because how do you expose me to this my entire life and then expect me not to want to do it?
Right. You're an actor, a singer, an author, a composer, an activist, a fashion designer, a producer. I struggle with that question a lot because everyone is so eager to put you into to pigeonhole you, to make you one thing so that they know how to market you and they can really sell that one thing. But I think what my thing is that I'm a maker. When I think about myself, I feel like the universe took me one day and walked me down a long hallway, and there's all these doors, and each one has like a really specific job on it, like plumber or works at a deli or anything. But mine is this, and I you get to see in these rooms. That's how I picture it, and they're really distinct. It's full of like tools, or it's full of bread and meat. And mine gets to the end, and the universe kind of says, well, "This is yours," and there's literally nothing on the door. And I go, oh, okay, cool. And I get inside and close the door, and it's completely dark. And then I think to myself, well, if only I could find a light switch, and then suddenly one appears. And I feel like that's what my job is to take the emptiness and to take that lack of and create something new. And that's sort of how I've lived my entire life, is being told I never fit in. So my job is to create spaces for people like that, and for communities that haven't had representation, and create that representation for them. So, it's great to be an actor. I love telling stories, but if I can make new worlds, I will make new worlds.
What made me who I am today? And so I think a lot of what I really like to write is looking back on that, reflecting on that, and also envisioning a world, like an ideal world.
But where did that singing voice come from?
I grew up in a very musical house. So my late dad, bless him, was a piano player and sang. And my mom would try, but yeah, and it was just, lots of older siblings. I'm the youngest of four, and the siblings were much older, and so I was exposed to all kinds of music, which was kind of great. Operetta and jazz and rock and
right. Wow.
Had a vinyl education.
We asked incredibly important questions.
If you've had past lives, who were you?
A cat.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee all day, every day.
Favorite color?
Pink.
Favorite food?
Sushi.
Best vacation ever?
Oh, the moon.
Favorite cereal?
I don't eat cereal.
Ever?
No, I'm on a weight loss journey.
You never had Cinnamon Toast Crunch in your life?
Oh yeah, that's good.
I'd love to be Barry Manilow.
Your favorite composer is going to write a new show for you.
Oh, well, Sondheim writes a role for me about my life.
Yes. You can go back in time and tell your younger self one thing.
Watch your weight. Don't eat so much sugar.
I wasn't expecting that.
Everything else has worked out exactly the way I planned.
I love that. What's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life has to do with what you leave behind. And so if you don't have children, which is the ultimate gift of what you leave behind, you could have been a good neighbor.
Yep. I love that.
And so that whatever gives your life meaning.
What's the high note of your life? What's the low note of your life?
Oh, no, it's this one. Oh.
We shared a lot of music. That's just incredible. You're amazing.
It's too late to die young.
It's really profound. It always catches me off guard, and I like gasp and get teary. And it's like, yeah, that's an incredibly defining moment in your childhood. And then a couple of years after, to have open heart surgery, it's like, dude,
yeah.
And you get a break.
Yeah,
but now you're catching a break right now, right?
I'm catching my break now, right? Yeah.
We even met foxes rescued from the fur industry. We shared some delicious cake. Oh, wow. Oh, it's like a marble rainbow. And we gained wisdom.
All that gives life meaning is my connection to other people or something in particular. The meaning of life is connection.
So I'm dusting and struggling, and I let out this horrible sigh. She said, "What's the matter, Sally?" I said, "Oh, Nanny, there's always dust." And she said, "Oh, Sally, God gave us dust so that we would always have something to do."
I just love that.
She must have been smoking something.
Thank you for joining us for this incredible ride. We can't wait to share more stories with you in 2022. Happy New Year.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. We too have run about the hills and picked the daisies fine. We've wandered many a weary foot since old lang syne. We too have paddled in the stream from morning sun till dine. But seas between us broad have roared since old lang syne. And there's a hand, my trusted friend, and give my hand, oh thine. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne.
This year, let's make a resolution to spread around more love and more kindness than we ever have. Let's lift one another up and come together with open hearts and minds and embrace our differences that we might learn from one another. I'm making a resolution to choose empathy over division, peace over conflict, love over fear, and I invite you to join me in that quest. Wishing you and yours a happy new year. That's all for today's episode. Puppies and rainbows till we meet again.